Let's now put our hands once again and welcome Justice Byabakama to finish on his presentation, and we move ahead in that order. You're most welcome back, sir.
Well, I've been allotted 2 minutes, but in the law, there's a process of seeking a leave for extension of time. Your Excellencies, I had already recognized you in absentia, so allow me to proceed in the interest of time. I had just presented on the issue that for the youth to appropriately appreciate their role in the democratic processes of their respective countries, they must also be cognizant not only of the rights and freedoms conferred upon them by the constitutions of their respective countries, but also of the duties and obligations imposed by those constitutions towards their countries. Real participation begins with each one of us being cognizant of our duties and obligations to our respective countries, taking tangible steps to live, actualize, and intentionally bring to life or reality those duties and obligations. And this can appropriately be summed up in one word: ownership. When we live, actualize, and practice those duties and obligations, then we are owning up our countries. We must individually cultivate in our psyche a sense of feeling of ownership. Question: the democratic future we dream of is not guaranteed. It will be won or lost by the choices we make today. So how can the young people drive participation and accountability? 1, love your country and Africa in general. Let us build linkages of engagement with our fellow youth on issues that are pertinent to the emancipation of our race and our continent. Let's promote value systems, not only discussing football with the fan of Man U in Nigeria and Ghana and so on and so forth. Get to know the journey your country has traveled. Nation building is a continuous process as society evolves. What is your contribution? Secondly, get informed. Stay curious. Democracy begins with knowledge. Read beyond the headlines. Ask tough questions. Seek truth, not trends. Thirdly, show up and speak out. Whether it is at the ballot box, a public gathering or meeting, or on social media, get involved. Your participation amplifies impact. Do not shun elections. Mobilize your fellow youth who are no longer in institutions of learning to become actively positive in the affairs of their communities and their country. Fourthly, hold power accountable, including your own. While it is easy to point fingers, you should realize that real accountability starts with you. If you want to lead with integrity, start by keeping your own promises. Fifthly, build, don't just critique. Do not merely protest, but also propose. Be the generation that not only challenges the system, but reincarnates or reinvents it. The solution does not lie in mere sloganeering. Let the force of your anger and discontent be channeled into something productive, just like the ferocious waters of waterfall are harnessed into generation of power. When the chorus around you is one of failure, doom, and gloom, etc., do not join the chorus. Let your voice be one of hope. When there is general outcry of unemployment among our youth, let's ask ourselves whether one is able to do something in the prevailing circumstances outside the formal setup of employment. We cannot build a democratic future with passive hope. We need active hope. The kind that organizes, listens, learns. The kind that promotes dialogue and constructive engagement. The kind that seeks to promote, preserve, and uphold the peace in your country. True participation is inclusive, continuous, and informed. Organize, mobilize and educate others. Most importantly, listen to those with divergent views and attempt to change them through persuasion, not confrontation. Remember, peace and stability are critical pillars in guaranteeing investment, business, and trade in the country and the East African region. We must therefore make a collective effort to ensure that nothing disrupts the peaceful environment that exists in our countries. The stability of our countries is crucial to our prosperity, for it allows free movement of goods and people in the respective countries. I implore you to be agents of peace. Be the eternal or perpetual optimist in the midst of the challenges. As the great Shaka Sali used to say, get better, not bitter. Personally, my persona for optimism was shaped by the cumbersome challenges I encountered in my youth, during and after university. If I may just highlight a few in the interest of time. By the time I joined university, Makerere University in 1977, things were dire, terrible. My hall was the Great Lumumba Hall. For some reason, Lumumba always had no water. It always had no water. All right. I recognize you. For some reason, it always had no water. But there was one hall at university which always had water, University Hall. So when Lumumba had no water, the elephants used to trek from Lumumba Hall to university for a shower, for a bath in the evening. I want you to imagine that situation. I don't know whether by the time we walked back would be cleaner than when we went for the shower. I don't know. But we did not allow those situations to break our resolve. And the other thing that I remember very clearly, I think for all the 3 years I was in Lumumba Hall, in our dining hall, we never tasted sugar at all. It was not there. I remember we used to have dry black tea for breakfast and evening tea. But we lived, and here we are. Now, other than permitting ourselves to wallow in continual frustration, despair, and disenchantment, you must develop a wall of resilience and steel determination, driven by hope that no situation is permanent. Things will one day get better. Despite those challenges, we executed our duties to the best of our abilities. Therefore, your detestable and desirable dire circumstances are not your Waterloo or destiny. What determines your destiny is whether you choose to allow the dire circumstances to shape your mindset into a state of perpetual hopelessness, despair, surrender, and total discouragement. Remember, every generation has its peculiarities. By cultivating and developing resilience and determination, one learns to be innovative despite the internal and external obstacles and to emerge from all odds a successful person. Be optimistic if when events and circumstances around you are to the contrary. Listen, when you lead with integrity, when you demand accountability, and when you participate with purpose, you don't just change the system, you become the system's best hope. When you lead with integrity, you don't just occupy a position, you inspire a generation. You are not just the hope of a democratic future, you are its architects. In conclusion, let us therefore build a democratic future where youth participation is not an exception but the norm. Let us demand accountability from others, but from ourselves as well. We should ask our individual selves, am I living the values I preach? Am I using my influence to uplift, not to dominate? Do I speak the truth even when it is inconvenient? Let us therefore lead not for power, but with a purpose. Africa does not need perfect leaders. In any case, we don't have perfect human beings, but principled ones. And let us remember always that integrity is not a destination, it is a daily choice. It is doing what is right, even when others are not watching. The future is not something that we inherit, it is something we create. Let your generation not be the generation that watches democracy dim or go on the decline, but let this generation be that rekindles it with integrity, one voice, one vote, and one act of courage at a time. And with your voice, your values, and your vision, the future of East Africa and Africa is indeed in powerful hands. Let me just comment on one statement the Guild President of the Republic of the Guild President of the University of Rwanda made. He made something fundamental. Said, for those of us who are holding public offices, I think our sense of accountability and integrity should be driven by one factor or fact, that you are holding a public office for a while. You will cease to be what you are in that public office, but you will never cease to be a citizen of that country. And therefore, all our actions, all our decisions making should be driven by the kind of country you want to come to live in when you cease to occupy public office. I thank you for your kind attention. May God bless you.
Thank you very much.